Being born with mutant powers should be awesome. But if you're Cyclops, it's more like being punished by the universe. His gift? Constantly firing uncontrollable death lasers from his eyes. And no, he can't turn them off. Not ever. From the moment he hit puberty, Scott Summers became a walking weapon. Imagine waking up one day, looking in the mirror, and vaporizing it, along with half the bedroom wall and your little brother's pet hamster. That's Cyclops' life. Welcome to mutant puberty. No deodorant strong enough for that kind of trauma. And that's just the beginning. Because while most superheroes get to enjoy some perks, a little glory, a secret identity, maybe even a love life, Cyclops got none of that. Instead, he got childhood ripped apart by tragedy. A cursed romantic saga that reads like a Greek tragedy written by Marvel interns on caffeine pills, and the glorious legacy of accidentally murdering his mentor. Oops. Cyclops isn't just unlucky, he's the unluckiest X-Men ever. And today we're diving deep into every moment that proves it. But here's the twist. He was supposed to be the chosen one, the golden boy, the leader, the face of mutant kind. So how did he end up as Marvel's most miserable mutant? Stick around, because once you see the disaster Cyclops survived, you'll understand why the real X-Men power might just be emotional resilience. If Marvel were handing out awards for most traumatizing childhood, Cyclops wouldn't just win, he'd melt the trophy by blinking at it. It all starts with a nice, peaceful plane ride. You know, just your average family vacation at 30,000 feet. Until, BAM! A mysterious alien ship attacks, the engine explodes, and Scott's parents, in a truly questionable parenting move, decide now is the time to hand Scott and his little brother parachutes. And toss them out the plane like mutant Happy Meals. Spoiler, the parachute only kind of works. Scott lands head first into the ground in a coma, and this is the moment his life goes permanently sideways. Because in classic Marvel fashion, a bit of brain damage means he can no longer control his optic blasts. So now, whenever Scott opens his eyes, pure destruction. Constant laser beams, full power, no off switch. Imagine a kid who can't stop crying, but his tears are heat vision. And because this is the X-Men universe, where every solution causes 5 new problems, the best they can do is slap a pair of ruby quartz sunglasses on them and call it a day. Yeah, not a cure, not therapy, just space lenses from the X-Men's equivalent of a sketchy optometrist in an alley. So now, Scott can't even take off his glasses, not to sleep, not to shower, not to make eye contact with a single human without being potentially disintegrating them. That's not a superpower, that's a horror movie subplot. And just in case you thought his social life might have survived, don't worry, it didn't. Because nothing says dateable teen like a kid who has to wear red wraparound shades 24/7 and signs Valentine's cards with "Don't look into my eyes, ever." In school? Oh, you mean the building he accidentally burned down during a routine eye twitch in algebra class? Yeah, he's popular in the same way Chernobyl is a tourist attraction. Fascinating, but you don't want to get too close. By the time Professor X finds him, Scott isn't a boy anymore. He's a ticking laser bomb in human skin. The kind of student you don't want to give homework to because he might incinerate the assignment by sneezing. The truth is, Scott Summers never had a childhood. He had a slow-motion car crash disguised as adolescence. A period of his life where literally opening his eyes could get someone killed. Which, if we're being honest, makes regular puberty look like a Disney vacation. And we're just getting started. Because if you think being a kid nuke was bad, wait till you see what happens when this poor guy tries to fall in love. So Scott finally gets recruited by Professor Charles Xavier, a bald telepath in a wheelchair who basically runs a boarding school for emotionally unstable superpowered teenagers. Sounds safe, right? Spoiler, it's not. But for Cyclops, this place isn't a fresh start. It's a lifetime sentence. With style. Because now he gets to swap his trauma goggles for a sleek visor that looks like it came free with a 1993 Taco Bell combo meal. And this visor, it's not just for fashion, it's a containment device. A glorified pressure cooker for eyeballs. It's the only thing stopping him from slicing buildings in half just by blinking too hard. So imagine waking up every morning, strapping a weapon to your face, and knowing that one screw loose, one crack, and boom, there goes the mansion, your friends, and possibly the neighbor's golden retriever. And yet, despite being one traumatic head nod away from mass destruction, Cyclops is chosen to lead the X-Men. Yeah, because apparently nothing says team player like uncontrollable ocular death beams. But here's the real twist. Being team leader doesn't make Scott feel empowered. It makes him miserable. Because leadership requires connection, trust, empathy. And Cyclops can't even look his own teammates in the eyes without fearing for their lives. That's not leadership. That's solitary confinement with a Bluetooth headset. He becomes the ultimate example of fake it till you make it. Standing tall, barking orders, acting like the golden boy. While inside, he's one intrusive thought away from vaporizing his crush during a pep talk. And speaking of crushes, Cyclops falls for Jean Grey, a fiery redhead with telepathy, telekinesis, and the kind of emotional baggage that makes soap opera stars look well-adjusted. It's a classic tale of boy meets girl. Girl reads boy's mind. Boy has a panic attack because he was thinking about her in the shower. Their relationship is passionate, complicated, and doomed. But we'll get to that beautiful train wreck in a minute. Back in the X-Mansion, Scott becomes the guy who never takes a day off. Not because he's noble, but because relaxing is a luxury you can't afford when your eyeballs are weapons of mass destruction. Every conversation is filtered through tension. Every emotion, anger, sadness, joy, has to be compressed. Like a pressure cooker that's never allowed to whistle. And guess what? That kind of emotional constipation doesn't make you a hero. It makes you a ticking time bomb with a six-pack and authority issues. Cyclops didn't join the X-Men. He got locked inside them. Not to grow, but to contain him. Because as far as the world was concerned, Scott Summers wasn't a man. He was a malfunctioning science experiment with abs. And now, he's about to screw up the one thing that gave his life meaning. Love. Now, remember that redhead Scott fell in love with, Jean Grey? Yeah, that relationship goes about as well as you'd expect when you pair a laser-eyed control freak with a telepath who can read your every thought, fantasy, and insecurity in real time. It starts cute. Team missions, longing glances, almost dying together every other Tuesday. But then Jean dies, as in explodes during a space mission kind of dies. Tragic, right? Except she comes back. But she's no longer just Jean. She's the Phoenix, a cosmic fire goddess with enough power to rewrite reality. And zero chill. Imagine your ex returning from the dead, 10 times hotter. But now she's a literal god who occasionally wipes out galaxies when she's sad. And Cyclops, he doesn't handle this well, emotionally or hormonally. See, Scott is the kind of guy who bottles everything up and then marries a clone of his dead girlfriend because therapy wasn't in the Xavier school curriculum. Enter Madeline Pryor, Jean Grey's clone. Same face, same hair, same voice, but none of the superpowers. Just a regular woman who looks like Jean and is super into Scott. What does Scott do when the real Jean rises from the grave again? He dumps his clone wife, abandons their baby, and runs back to the original like he's switching tabs in his browser. Smooth. Naturally, Madeline has a breakdown, becomes the Goblin Queen, summons demons, and literally tries to sacrifice their child in a satanic ritual. And somehow, Cyclops still walks around like he's the tragic victim in all this. And just when you think this man's love life couldn't get more radioactive, surprise! Jean dies. Again. Because being in a relationship with Cyclops is like dating a Greek tragedy inside the collapsing star. And when Jean returns, yet again, the two try to patch things up. But at this point, the damage is astronomical. Scott is emotionally constipated, guilt-ridden, haunted by the fact that half the people he's loved either die, turn evil, or both. And Jean's just trying not to get possessed by another intergalactic force. It's less of a romance and more of a multi-decade hostage situation. This isn't a love story, it's an emotional blender set to trauma puree. And it doesn't even end there. Remember their son? The one Cyclops abandoned? Yeah, that baby grows up to be Cable, a time-traveling, gun-toting PTSD-laced warrior from a dystopian future. You know, just another Tuesday in the Summers family. Scott's romantic life is a flaming dumpster filled with clones, corpses, cosmic trauma, and one deeply confused baby daddy arc. He's not unlucky in love. He's cursed. But somehow the universe isn't done kicking him in the optic nerves, because next up, we enter full-scale war, cosmic possession, and the moment Cyclops accidentally murders his father figure. By this point in his career, Cyclops is done playing nice. He's tired of being the responsible one, tired of leading a team that never listens, tired of being blamed for everything from property damage to galactic genocide. So, what does he do? He breaks up the X-Men. Like a tired dad in a group chat yelling, "I'm done. Make your own dinner." The event is literally called the Schism. And it's as dramatic as it sounds. Cyclops and Wolverine, yes, the guy who's been not so subtly flirting with Jean for the last 20 years, have a full-blown ideological divorce. Wolverine wants to protect kids. Cyclops, he's fine weaponizing them if it means mutant kind survives. So now, Cyclops is running his own island nation, Utopia, with a team that's less Saturday morning cartoon and more post-apocalyptic resistance Sal. He trades in his golden boy image for black armor, glowing red eyes, and a personality that screams, "I've seen things." He's not leading the X-Men anymore. He's leading a revolution. And the weirdest part, he's kinda right. Humans keep trying to wipe out mutants. The government wants them extinct, and Cyclops is the only one going, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't play nice with people building genocide robots." But while his message makes sense, his methods get darker, colder, less Xavier's dream, and more mutant survival at any cost. And just when you think he might finally win something, the Phoenix Force returns. And guess who volunteers to host it? Yep, our boy. Because when your ex got possessed and wiped out civilizations, naturally, you should give it a shot too. Spoiler, it does not go well. Cyclops, along with 4 other mutants, becomes the Phoenix Five, a group of Omega-level gods trying to remake Earth into a mutant paradise. And for like 5 minutes, it works. World hunger? Gone. Energy crisis? Solved. Mutants? Thriving. But absolute power doesn't just corrupt, it devours. The Phoenix splits their minds, one by one. The other hosts fall, consumed by ego, power, madness. Cyclops holds on the longest, but not without cost. His relationships fracture, his sanity teeters, and then, finally, in a moment that cements his tragic arc forever, he kills Professor Xavier while under the Phoenix's control. The man who raised him, believed in him, named him leader. Gone in a single blast of crimson rage. After that, Cyclops becomes radioactive. Not literally this time, but socially, politically, morally. The guy who once stood for peace, order, and responsibility is now treated like the mutant version of Darth Vader. People forget the years he spent protecting everyone. All they remember is the funeral. He's hunted, hated, exiled. But here's the kicker, he still fights for mutant survival. Even when they hate him, even when he hates himself. Because deep down, Cyclops never stopped trying to do the right thing. He just never caught a break. By now, Cyclops isn't the golden boy. He's not a leader. He's a symbol of everything that happens when you try to do the right thing and get burned for it, again and again. He killed Charles Xavier, not out of hatred, but while possessed by cosmic power he never wanted. And instead of empathy, he gets exiled, hated, forgotten. But here's the twist. Even at his lowest, Cyclops keeps fighting. Not for glory, not even for forgiveness, but for survival, for mutants, for the future. Because that's who he is, a guy who never got the girl, the fame, or even control his own powers, but still shows up. And while the world worships Wolverine, laughs with Deadpool, and marvels at Magneto's speeches, Cyclops carries the burden, the guilt, the pressure. He's not flashy, he's foundational. Even death doesn't give him a break. He gets resurrected into a new mutant society, handed new responsibilities, new risks, same trauma. So yeah, Cyclops is cursed. He's misunderstood, but he's also relentless, and that might be his real superpower. If you enjoyed watching this slow tragedy unfold, hit like. Want more stories about cursed heroes and cosmic disasters? Subscribe and tell us in the comments, Cyclops, tragic legend, or glorified laser pointer. Either way, the man deserves a nap.